and Steven.
Hey everyone, Joshua Hanlon here, and I'm sitting with the winners of LEGO Masters USA Season 2, Mark and Steven. We just finished an incredible watch party here with them and tons of their fans. It was so exciting to watch the whole finale and see it all play out. So first question, just kind of how are you feeling now that it's finally out there for everyone to see?
Such a sense of relief, and it's so gratifying to see it on the big screen. The edit was great. Got to see all the builds. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it's the thrill of a lifetime. You know, it's been 20 weeks since we've known that we've won. Almost like, I don't know how many days is that? 100 and something days. Yeah, it's been like, it feels like forever, but we finally get to say we won LEGO Masters, and there's nothing like that feeling right now.
That's so exciting. So let's dive into the build then. So if you can, so obviously the challenge was whatever you wanted to do, which sounds good at first, but then you've got to decide, what do I do actually do at that point? Was this something you guys had anticipated them giving you as a challenge, and did you have an idea ready if that happened?
It actually occurred the day before we started filming for the finale. We were like, what are we going to do? We started brainstorming, and we came up with several ideas, one of which was a big dragon, which would not have been good because there were several dragons at the finale. We thought of a big city that was rotating, exactly like Caleb and Jacob. Those are some of our actual ideas, and we actually...
Before the challenge, we were planning this. Yeah.
We didn't know what they were planning either, and then I thought, hey, Steven wanted to build a big tree guy, but he never really got the chance. We were thinking about that, and I said, Steven, you want to build a big tree guy? He's like, yeah. And then we're like, okay.
We're making a tree guy.
Making a giant tree guy. And that was it. So it just went right from there. Great plan, huge plan, and it turned out great. So, yeah.
So was there any particular inspiration for that tree guy? Anything that, I know you said you wanted to do the build, so was there something in your mind like it's kind of inspired by this, or?
Well, I love making trees, and I always want to make a gigantic tree. And we had the opportunity to bring a build for LEGO Masters for some of the promo shots. We ended up bringing a Greek city, which was very nice, but I was hoping to bring a tree man. Didn't get the chance. He was inspired by a couple of people. I love Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy. He's one of my favorite characters. But I also like the Iron Giant, so I kind of merged the two a little bit, with the eyes very similar and the body with the green veins very similar to those characters. But I wanted him to be very unique, and I think we pulled it off pretty well. We compartmentalized again. Mark did the base, the majority of the base, and the trees behind. Great job. And I did most of the character, yeah.
Talk about that character building a little more, because that's not easy to do. As I was watching the episode, looking at the sculpting, especially like the head, a lot of parts of the body. So how did you go about tackling that?
Well, it wasn't easy at first. I kind of stuttered a bit, and Mark got me on the right trail. I was trying to make the head, and it wasn't working. So Mark said, just make the legs. That'll be fine. I'm like, okay, I'll make the legs. So you just start with a circle, and then you just build up from there, and then you get to the waist, then you get to the torso, then you put on all these giant muscles, then you get to the arms, and you literally from the ground up. As far as sculpting, a lot of it was basic rock work, all the way up. You know, lots of slopes, knowing how they work, and the character's face was all snot, all studs on the side, and it's just classic character building.
Now, a big part of this challenge was the night portion as well, which required lights. Lights are always extremely impressive in builds. I love when we're at a convention and see a well-lit up build. So how were you able to incorporate that into this incredible character that Steven was working on?
As soon as they announced the twist, I was inwardly laughing and like, yes, we have such an advantage. We have trophies on our shelves that say best lighted mock at multiple shows. So saying, oh, you have to do lights and you have to do it in the daytime. So we're like, dude, you know, so we started integrating them as much as possible. So you see them in the water, you see them in the legs, you see them in the eyes, you see them in the creatures all around, in the trees. And so we just,
his staff?
yeah, and a huge gem in his staff. So he has lights everywhere, and it really transforms the build from day to night, and it adds a new element. If they weren't in there, it would be only half the mock that it is. So. Yeah.
Especially, talk a little bit more about the base of the build then as well, because to me, that's where the lights kind of shine the most. And I think you explained it in the episode a little bit. Maybe you can elaborate kind of the idea that there were waves from the character walking through.
Exactly. So we have multiple lights that are moving, and in several different ways. The first one's on the bottom. The waterfalls have actually a motor with a large gear, and the lights are attached to that gear, and the lights are moving on that piece. So there's motors moving the lights. And then on where the big warden is standing, there are lights that have patterns in them and then appear to move. by blinking. So it's the blinking of the lights that creates the motion. It's a little more subtle. And so you have multiple different types of movement and light combined to really make it look like that water is completely alive.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Especially where he's stepping, like especially on the water. It looks like there's this, like the water got troubled a bit as he was going. But we also had characters too. We had fireflies that had the same blinking pattern that was on the side of him on the right. And then we had a frog that he was almost stepping on near the side with his glowing red eyes. Those are really fun for the day-night theme that Amy Jamie really pushed for. So, yeah.
Now, how tall was the whole build? Because it's hard to tell scale sometimes on the show. So do you know that off the top of your head?
So his head was bigger than our head.
Well, about
Yeah, bigger around. And it was not quite the same height. So it was.
about a pumpkin, basically.
It's like a really buff, like a toddler, like a actual like small child, you know. So it was huge, and
I can tell you right now, his hand was about maybe, I don't know, 2/3-ish the size of mine, to give you an idea. And he was holding two minifigures. You can kind of get a scale there. I don't remember his exact height, though. It was a long time ago. But I'll tell you one thing. To give you a perspective, Zach and Wayne's was about 6 feet tall. And Caleb and Jacob was about 4 foot something. And he's right in between there. To give you an idea, he's about 5 feet tall-ish. Yeah.
That's crazy too, because you don't get quite that scale when you're watching it on the show. So that's really neat to hear that. Now, a big part of this challenge was the 24-hour clock. So that's obviously an immense amount of time. How does 24 hours actually play out on the show? You know, we here at Beyond the Brick do a 24-hour live stream every year. We just go 24 hours straight, but we're also not trying to actually build any decent mocks or anything on the show. So I imagine that's not how it went for you guys.
yeah, it wasn't nearly as grueling as your live streams. It was broken up into 3 days, ranging from 9 to 7 hours per day of building. So it was broken up pretty well. We had lunch breaks, and we got to go home every night. So it was not 24 hours straight. We would all be dead by the time that was done. So trying to build something that big and that cool. So, yeah.
Okay, so they essentially just stop the clock each day, and then you come in the next day, and it starts back up?
Yeah, bright and early the next morning. You know, stay late in the day, come back early in the morning. The judging took a while. That was about a day and something for them to judge. It took a long time to judge that one. They really were careful on that decision. But what was really cool, one little backstory, there's a lot of off-camera building. They went from very little basic builds to just giant structures in no time. A lot of jumping.
Power of editing.
Yeah, even then. But what's really cool, one fun little side story. Amy came on set while they weren't filming. The only time one of the judges ever did that, she came on set and she wanted to see our builds, like off camera. It was really cool. So she came around. She's looking around with her Scottish accent. You know, she's very, very vague, but that was a really cool moment. We got to just hang out with Amy for just a minute. You know, all of us teams. It was really interesting. Yeah.
Now, one of the best moments of this episode was when you, Steven, tripped on the court with the bill. I've never identified with something as much in my life as someone with big feet. So explain the horror of that moment, exactly how you felt. Take us through in detail, please.
Well, I owe Mark a lot of money for his, cardiac appointments. You know, he's had several heart attacks. I believe we're up to 7 now since that event. No, it's fine. No, I tripped on a cord. It was a black cord on a black floor. It was very hard to see. A lot of Legos everywhere, hidden very well. I tripped on it because I have massive shoes, and thankfully nothing was discharged or broken or whatever. It did move the model a little bit. It did move. It just proved, hey, it was sturdy enough, and it took it. So I'm really glad that nothing happened. But yes, in fact, I actually tripped a little bit on it beforehand, but that was before the model was standing on it, if I recall. It was, just a little scuffle there. But yeah, that cord was a real pain. That was powering all of our lights. So yeah, that's why I was there. So.
Any other kind of behind-the-scenes details of this final episode? Do you want to share anything that maybe didn't make it in the episode or was just kind of in the background?
So one funny instance that happened that didn't get in the final edit was that they went around and they had a bunch of interviews, all sorts of stuff. They had one where they asked each team who they thought they were worried about, like which team is looking really good. And so Zach and Wayne were like, oh, Mark and Steven look really good over there. And then Caleb and Jacob, ooh, Mark and Steven look really good over there. And then they come to our table and they're like, Mark and Steven, what was your most fun experience on this show? They didn't even ask us the question. We're like, wait, don't we get to talk about them? But no, so that was kind of like, that was a little interesting, and that was probably 2/3 of the way through. So just little things like that there was hours and hours of footage that didn't make it. I hope they have an extended cut at some point. It'd be awesome. So.
We also had a really fun phone call with our mom that didn't make it to air, where Will Arnett called our mom and we were talking and stuff. We were even doing some more smack talk with Caleb and Jacob, but I guess it was too goofy and they didn't put it on. I don't know what happened, but it was funny. There were a couple moments, but It's only a 40-minute episode in 24 hours.
And that, just as we wrap up here, that's a good reminder about one of the kind of really nice moments on this final episode, which was talking with your family. So what did that do kind of for morale for you guys?
It was actually quite a bit of a morale boost. It was more meaningful watching it than I thought it would be. I kind of even teared up a little bit, and that was genuine. I mean, we're so exhausted. It was awesome. So.
Yeah. And he promised he would never cry on set, like ever, or run on set, and he lost one of those. So yeah.
And then final question here. Obviously, whenever you've got a big reality show win, what are you going to do with the money?
Well, I was actually saving up to buy my own place before getting on Lego Masters, so that is going to be contributing to that greatly. So, what about you?
Going to be a much more impressive Lego room now.
Exactly, a huge Lego basement probably, yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm obviously going to be really careful, but I wouldn't mind an off-roader. That would be kind of fun. Nothing crazy, but yeah, that would be pretty fun. I as well as saving up for a house and so on and so forth. But yeah, a little 4x4 would be fun. So yeah.
That sounds fantastic for both of you. I'm so happy to see your whole journey on the show here. It's been really, really incredible. Both of you did an amazing job, and I can't wait to see what you continue to build in the future. I'm sure we'll have more convention interviews with Mark and Steven in the future and feature more of their builds in the future. So thank you both so very much.
Thanks, Joshua.
Thanks for coming out, guys. Appreciate it.